Greetings, Hyperboreans. Dave here, the developer of the Hyperborea system for Foundry Virtual Tabletop, and I'm here to do another demonstration video for my latest release, which is version 1.7.1. In this release, I've got 4 new features that are being included, and we're going to show off all 4 of them. The first 3 are optional items, and then we're going to go into the configuration settings to discuss those first, and then I'll demonstrate all 4 of them together. So in the config settings here, we'll go to Hyperborea 3rd edition, scroll down a little bit here until we find, here we go, force range limit on attacks. Now, by the way, these are all disabled by default, so they will look like that in your system when you first update, and you can enable them individually or not as you see fit. So the first one, force range limit on attacks. As you can see, it says for PCs, prevent a weapon or spell attack if it's out of range. Again, disabled by default. It's noted in the description. So this will prevent you from making a melee attack if you're out of range with your weapon, and it's based on the weapon class. So the larger weapon classes that have a greater reach are calculated on the basis of the distance they can go. And you know, ranged weapons obviously have a range built in, as do attack spells with attacks on them. So that's the first one. You do, of course, have to have a target or a token targeted for the range calculation to work. So you could make an attack with no target, and the system will let you do that still. But as long as you have a token targeted, then it will calculate the distance, and it will actually prevent the attack roll if it's out of range. I'm going to enable that so we can demonstrate it. The next one, force weapon equipage to use. So again, for PCs, the weapon must be equipped if you want to attack with it. Otherwise, it will give you an error message and it will not allow the attack roll dialog to pop up. Same with the range limit. And same goes for the spell memorization to cast. If you don't have the number memorized as 1 or greater for a spell, you will not be able to cast it. The casting dialog box will not pop up for you. So we'll leave all 3 of those checked now so you can see how they work. And the reason I added these 3 options, I should just say this first, is I recognize that sometimes you've got some new players, they don't know the rules very well. Even old players sometimes don't know the rules very well. And this can basically put some forced reminders in that they have to have things set up correctly in order to make their attacks, make their spell casting, whatever it happens to be. And that way, once people get in the habit of having their spells memorized correctly, so they even are aware of their own limitations. You may have 10 spells in your spell book, but you only have 3 spells memorized, as an example. You should have those marked as memorized so you know which ones are available to you on that day. Again, some GMs don't care about that stuff, and if you don't care about it, just leave these disabled, and that's totally fine. That's why they are disabled by default. But if you want to be a little closer to rules as written and run the game and encourage your players to follow the way the system is designed, check these boxes, give it a try. If they work for you, fantastic. If they annoy you, or if if your players are getting annoyed by them, just turn them back off. It's entirely up to you. That's why I made them optional. So we'll leave these optional for now, and we'll just go into, I have a combat setup here, as you can see, and hasn't even hit the begin yet, and I'm probably not going to hit the begin because I'm not going to worry about initiative for this demonstration. So we're going to start by doing the range limitation. So I've got my Orc Necromancer here. I'm going to target him with the T key on my keyboard, and Argyros, my fighter, is going to attempt to attack with his, let's see, I had these equipped for earlier, but I will unequip them. So now he's got a single melee weapon attacked, his broadsword. So he's going to hit the attack roll, and you can see target is beyond melee range, calculated distance is 13 feet. So if I move him 1 step closer, he's still going to be beyond range, as you can see. And if I move Argyros 1 step closer, now when I tap it, there we go. You can see I get the attack roll dialog. So if he's out of range, I don't get the dialog. And I can even go diagonals. I did have to allow, because of diagonals and things like that, I do allow a little bit of squish. I know it works correctly for your basic melee weapons. You have to be up against your target token, whether it's a large token like this one or a medium-sized token, I should say, like this zombie here. I can't, let me just change the target to him. Again, I'm extra square away, I won't be able to do it. But if I move close up there, now I can attack. If I move diagonally, should still be able to attack. Yep. So that's how that works. It's very simple. I don't happen to have a weapon with reach here at the moment, so I don't have a good way to show that. But reach, again, the weapon class determines how far you can reach. So a standard sword or the class 2 weapon limits your reach to basically 5 feet or 1 square away, and it's like 10 feet for some classes and 15 feet for other classes, but the numbers are built in, so that's all there. So that would be the first option, issue 118, prevent attacks if the target is out of range of the weapon or spell. So the same thing does work for spells. I'm not sure if I have a spell with that range on it, but it does work. It's just like missile weapons as well. And again, I don't have any missile weapons that have that limited of a range. Although maybe, let's pull Argyros way back here. I think he had burning oil flask with a limit of 30 feet. So let's see if I can just do this now. Yep, oh, it's not equipped. Well, there's the demo of the prevent attacks if the weapon is not equipped. So I'm going to click the t-shirt icon over here to equip the burning oil flask. Now I'm going to hit that, and you can see it's out of range. It's at 33 feet. Yep. So if I move Argyros one step closer, he should now be in range of about 28 feet. And if I hit the burning flask, now you can see 28 feet, which is long range, and it'll let me make the attack. So previous to this rule, the system, or if the thing is disabled, if you leave that disabled, again, that's the default option, the system will actually let you make a missile attack beyond long range, and it will treat it as long range. So it will automatically select long for you, and it'll apply that -5 penalty for a long range attack, and it will let you make attacks beyond long range. With the rule applied or the option applied, it will stop that. So that's how that works. Okay, so the next feature, issue 119, is to add an option to prevent an attack from a weapon that's not equipped. Well, we just saw that. I can't even make an attack from a weapon that's not equipped, regardless of range. +2 flame brand, not equipped. My longbow composite, definitely in range, but I can't attack. Once I equip it, now I can attack with it, just like that. It's very simple. Again, the reason I did that is, generally speaking, well, at least as a GM or referee, I prefer for my players to accurately track what weapon is in their hands. Now, normally I don't care if they have the t-shirt clicked on their character sheet. That doesn't matter. What matters is if they're accurately tracking. Am I holding my broadsword? Am I holding my longbow? Have I pulled out a burning flask? Whatever it happens to be. So my preference is for them to accurately track that. If I've got 6 players in my game, I can't remember all that for them, so I need them to do it. So the idea is this will help players get in the habit of accurately tracking what's in their hand and what's not. Now, could a player just go through and equip every weapon in hand? Yeah, it's sort of cheating. Clearly, they don't have all 5 weapons in their hand at once, and the system will let them do that. I may change that in a future release where I just say this is mutually exclusive and only one can be equipped at a time, but for now, yes, they can get away with that. So it's just something to be aware of. Okay, so then we have the next feature, which is issue number 120, adding a new option to prevent spells from being cast if not memorized. And they work pretty much the same way. So if I go to Andronakos here, my magician, and if I look at his spells, and he's got Acid Arrow, he doesn't have it memorized. We'll say the player forgot to memorize it. He's going to try and attack my Orc Necromancer. I'm going to click that, and once again, Acid Arrow is not memorized. Now I can fix that easily enough. Just hit the little plus. I've got a 1 there. Now it's going to let me attack. A caveat, so once again, this is going to encourage players to properly prepare their spells every day once they've rested for the night. They should update for all their 0s back to 1s if they have the spell memorized, or leave it at 0s. You can see here Andronakos, he's only allowed to memorize 3 first-level spells and 2 second-level spells. Now, will the system allow him to memorize more than that? Yes, absolutely. He can totally cheat and put a 1 in front of every spell. Once again, there's a little bit of on your honor here, right? So all they have to do is make sure they've got at least a 1 in the number memorized, and then they can cast the spell. Now, you may notice that I've got a 4 for Magic Ice Dart. The reason is, if you look at the Magic Ice Dart description, as my CA goes up, I get higher numbers of ice darts that I can cast. But when I cast the spell, it essentially makes a single ice dart attack. If I want at CA4, which my guy is level 4, so he's got a CA of 4, at CA4 I should get 4 darts. So when I memorize the spell once, if I really want to make 4 ice dart attacks, which is what I should be able to do, I need to memorize that 4 times. It's a little bit of a workaround, but it is something to be aware of. Magic Missile doesn't actually have an attack roll, so you can leave that as a 1 even with multiple missiles, because when you make the attack, there's no attack roll required. I'm going to hit Cast Spell. You can see my number memorized drop to 0 as it's supposed to. And in the chat then, all I really need to do is hit the damage button X number of times for the number of arrows or magic missiles that were fired at a given target. So I can just hit damage multiple times and just keep adding damage to my targets one after another after another. But the magic ice dart does require an attack roll for each dart. So you have to memorize more than 1 in order to make more than 1 attack roll with multiple darts. That's why that's like that. It's kind of a funky workaround, but that is the way the system currently works. Again, if you don't have that option enabled, you're not going to have an issue with this anyway. The system's not going to tell you you don't have the spell memorized. It's just going to let you do it, assuming that you know what you're doing, even if you have a 0 in the number memorized. And those were the 3 optional features. Prevent an attack if the target is out of range, prevent an attack if the weapon's not equipped, prevent spell casting if the spell is not memorized. The final option is to create a way to apply persistent damage effects. And so what I've got is a number of things here set up. So I'm just going to sort of position Argyros here so I can demonstrate this quickly. So he's got a flame brand, as you've noticed, and I'm going to go ahead and attack with the flame brand. And I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to say I rolled a 20, because that way I make sure that I hit, no chance of missing. I'm actually not going to worry about the critical hit part. I should have probably just typed 19, but whatever. So we'll roll the damage. And so then we get that. And I'm going to go ahead and apply that right off the bat. And then you can see I also gave the Orc Necromancer a DR of 2, so that gets applied automatically. Now he has to make a save versus the burning. By the way, this is a homebrew sword, so it's not the one right out of the book. So I'm going to roll the save. I'm not going to give him a number. We'll see if he succeeds. He failed. So then I will apply the burning effect. So you can see plus burning, it added the burning effect to him. If I turn off the targeting and get rid of that thing, you can see there's a little red flame up here in the left corner to indicate he's got the burning condition, as you can see right there. Okay, and so what I did was, on the effect for this flame brand, we're going to go ahead and edit him. We're going to go to effects. This is the burning effect. And what I did, first of all, I gave it this icon and I made it red. You don't want it to transfer the effect to the actor, because that would have transferred the effect to Argyros himself and put him on fire, which we don't want. So we leave that unchecked. But we do set the burning status here. Under duration, I give it a number of rounds. In this case, I just set it to 1 for simplicity's sake. So essentially, he would burn for 1 extra round. And under effects, I say system.temp persistent damage, all one word, lowercase t, but uppercase P and D. So that is case sensitive. That's my attribute key, and then my change mode is add, and my effect value is burning, comma, 1d4, semicolon. By the way, this is all in my release notes, so if you read the release notes, there's nothing new here, but I realize a lot of people don't read the release notes, so hopefully this helps. It needs to be in this format. A single word description of the effect that's being applied. The persistent damage type is really what it is, because that's going to be in the chat. So that is the word you will see in chat. And then we have the die roll that's going to be rolled to calculate that damage, okay? So that's how that's set up. So I'm going to close that, and when I look at, of course, my Orc Necromancer, there is the burning effect that's been applied to him. Again, the duration is 1, and the effects is exactly what I just showed you. So that gets transferred to him when I tap or click this apply burning button. It just applies it to the selected token. As a GM, I can select more than one token and apply it to all of them. So a fireball or something, if I start 3 or 4 people on fire or something, I could do it that way. Okay, so that's now applied. He took the physical damage from the broadsword, the flaming broadsword at first. Now on his turn, on the Orc Necromancer's turn, at the end of his turn, the system is going to apply the persistent damage. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little bit crazy here. I'm going to shoot an acid arrow at him, and I'm going to make sure it hits. So I'm going to just make it a 19. And we hit, and we're going to roll some damage. And I'm going to apply the damage, just like that. and then I'm going to apply corroding. I could have called it acid or whatever. I use corroding because that is the word that the Foundry system calls it in here, this one right here, corroding, which is for acid. So you can see I applied corroding to the Orc Necromancer. Again, if I go in and look at that effect, this is right out of the spell. I gave it the icon, I gave it a green color, and the effect is acid, and it does 2d4. And based on the level of the caster, this might go for more than just the 1 round. I left it as 1, but if your CA is high enough, this might be 2 rounds, this might be 3 rounds, and that is not automatically calculated, by the way. So if you're using effects as the GM, you may need, or the player using Acid Arrow, you may need to update this on your spell so that it gets applied correctly. So you would do it on your character's spell. You would go into his Acid Arrow spell, and let's see, extra round for CA 4 to 6. So my guy is CA 4, so actually I should update this. So I should make this an extra round so it goes for 2 rounds, just like that. Just use these the same numbers here, by the way, rounds and turns. This is not a Hyperborea turn. This is the actual turn of the token in the combat round. So leave those the same. I'm going to save that. Now that's not going to change what's applied to my Orc Necromancer. That will only be changed going forward for any time I cast the spell and apply it to someone in the future. For now, he's got these 2 effects. They're only applied for 1 round. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just zip through, actually I forgot to begin it, but I'm going to zip through the turns until I get through the Orc Necromancer, and we'll see how these things apply, okay? So we're just going to do this. At some point, we're going to hit the Orc Necromancer. There we go. So we're just going to hit next. And first of all, if you saw that flash by really quick, what happened was the duration for these 2 effects expired because it's now been 1 extra round. So they both expired and they've been made inactive. Now that was a previous release. I had put that feature in, so that was a previous release. But also you see, here we go, applying persistent damage effects. So you can see it rolled 4 for burning damage, and that's on a d4. And then for the acid damage, it would have rolled 2d4, and it happened to roll, I don't know, 1 and a 3 or a 2 and a 2 or whatever, but it came to 4 points of damage. So applied another 8 points of damage to my Necromancer, and you can see his hit points are now down to 7. He started at 29, and that's how that works. So when you have these effects, you can see that it does the persistent damage at the end of that actor or token's turn in the combat. And then, of course, the system also, after applying the damage, it checks to see if the effect is expired. So it will apply it in the final round when it's expiring. In this case, these were only enabled for 1 round each. So it applied it once, and then immediately after that, expired both effects. And then the system does not delete these. So since this is just a monster token, at some point I'm just going to delete him, and that goes away because it's not applied to any permanent actors. But for characters, if you have characters receiving effects, you might want to clean this up or have your players clean this up once in a while, because if they have a bunch of inactive, expired temporary effects, that list will just build up over time and they'll have to delete them. And that is about all I've got to say for today's release. 1.7.1 is out this afternoon, and today is April 28th, 2025. I hope you all have great gaming and enjoy the updates. And again, I'm always on the Northwind Adventures Discord. I keep an eye on that every day. There's a Hyperborea VTT channel, and I especially keep a close eye on that. So any suggestions, bug reports, anything like that, questions, just post them there. And I'm usually pretty quick to respond, but there's also some other folks in the Discord who have been using the system for a while, and they also respond. So either way, you can expect answers to your questions. Okay, folks, have a great day. This is Dave signing off.